Welcome back to Fox and Friends on this Sunday morning. Well, a lot of people praising the lame duck Congress for using bipartisanship to get things done. But with a Republican majority preparing to take over the House, will President Obama be able to get his agenda through in 2011? Joining us for a fair and balanced debate is Doug Schoen, a former pollster to President Clinton and a Fox News contributor, and former Minnesota Senator Norm Coleman, now chairman of the American Action Network and Forum. Good morning. Happy Sunday to each of you.
Same to you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Doug, let's start with you. Why shouldn't the president, well, you're hearing all this rhetoric right now coming out of the Republican Party, even seeing headlines in the Politico this week saying that the Republicans are prepared to put up a fight. Why shouldn't the president try to go it alone if there doesn't seem to be that sort of bipartisanship moving forward?
Well, I think the president found in the lame duck session that by trying to forge bipartisan compromises, he could be successful on his own behalf, but more importantly, on behalf of the American people. So I think his first priority should be to cooperate with the Republicans and indeed the will of the voters who voted for lower taxes, lower spending, and a balanced budget. But that being said, the president has made it clear if he can't seek compromise, he will stand up for his priorities and use his power to advance his interests.
Well, it sounds like in a way, Senator, we're heading for gridlock then, because you're also hearing the same thing from the Republican side, which is, look, if the president's willing to concede some ground and come over to our side, then we're willing to talk. But we're not going to give up on our principles. You hear that from Mitch McConnell.
Well, you know, this is not about its principles. The American public did speak in November, and they said, we don't want more spending, we don't want more taxes, we want you to focus on jobs. The things that the president was focusing on before that weren't the things that cut through that 14 to 16 months of unemployment over 9.5%. So I don't think this is about ideology. The American people won when the president and Congress came together and said we're not going to raise taxes. They extended the Bush tax cut. That was a good thing. The bottom line is you've got a new team coming in. The folks who were there in this lame duck, they're not going to be there. And so now you've got folks who heard the message that says we want you to focus on jobs, we want you to keep a lid on spending, we want you to cut debt. And I think you're going to see that. And the battle is going to be waged really early on in March. When you've got to deal with the debt ceiling of $14.3 trillion, which will have to be raised, and you're going to deal with the omnibus budget, which, by the way, was rejected in lame duck. And now you're going to have to deal with a budget situation, and so tough decisions will be made. I hope it's not about ideology. I hope it's about what's good for growing jobs for the American people. And if we do that, then folks can work together. If not, there will be a battle.
Doug, I don't know, though. It sounds like we're headed right for a battle, because if you hear what the senator is saying, yes, people spoke loud and clear on Election Day, and a lot of the moderate voices were lost, even on the Republican side. So it seems like we are headed for an ideology battle right now. Do you get the same sense?
Well, you know, that's certainly possible. I think the Republicans, as Lindsey Graham suggested, did have their lunch eaten by the Democrats. So I think the new group, as Senator Coleman suggests, will dig in their heels. But that being said, I don't think the Republicans want to go through the mistakes of 95 and 96 and run the risk of a government shutdown. So I think ultimately there will be cooperation because there has to be cooperation. The national interest demands nothing less.
But isn't the burden on the president at point in time, and that is to say, okay, I'm going to focus my energies on things that the American public wants to do. They don't want the health care bill. You got to change that. They've made some statements about taxes. Listen, the president got what I call stocking stuffers in this lame duck. People in America during the election weren't talking about don't ask, don't tell. They weren't talking about start. They're talking about their jobs. And on those issues, on jobs and health care, the president's agenda wasn't well received by the American public. So I really think the burden goes back on him to kind of come together and say, hey, I'll work with this new Republican majority on doing those things that, if you reflect on November,
the burden's on both sides. Always, burdens on both sides, always is, always will be. Senator Coleman knows that, and hopefully we'll have that same spirit of bipartisan cooperation going forward.
Fingers crossed you guys are going to stick around, because Doug and the senator will be discussing what they consider the most political moments of 2010.